Top 10 European Serial Killers and Something About These Monsters. Pedro Alonso Lopez, also known as the Monster of the Andes, Lopez is considered one of the most prolific serial killers in history. He was born in Colombia in 1948 and confessed to killing over 300 young girls in Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru in the 1970s. He was caught in 1980 and is currently serving a prison sentence in Ecuador. Harold Shipman, known as Dr. Death. Shipman was a British doctor who was convicted of murdering 15 of his patients in 2000, though it's suspected he killed many more. He committed suicide in his cell in 2004 while serving a life sentence. Fritz Harman, also known as the Vampire of Hanover, was a German serial killer who murdered at least 24 young boys and men between 1918 and 1924. He was executed by beheading in 1925. Robert Picton, also known as the Pig Farmer Killer, was a Canadian serial killer who was convicted of killing 6 women, though he is suspected of murdering many more. He targeted sex workers in Vancouver and disposed of their remains on his farm. He is currently serving a life sentence. Michel Fourniret is a French serial killer who was convicted of killing at least 8 young women in France and Belgium between 1987 and 2003. He targeted girls and women who were hitchhiking and was known as the Ogre of the Ardennes. He is currently serving a life sentence. Joaquin Crow, also known as the Ruhr Hunter, was a German serial killer who murdered at least 13 people between 1955 and 1976. He targeted young girls and women and often cannibalized his victims. He died of a heart attack in prison in 1991. Anatoly Prienko was a Ukrainian serial killer who murdered at least 52 people between 1989 and 1996. He targeted families in rural areas and often killed multiple victims in a single attack. He was sentenced to life in prison and died in 2013. Alexander Pechushkin, also known as the Chessboard Killer, was a Russian serial killer who murdered at least 49 people between 1992 and 2006. He targeted mostly elderly men and women in Moscow's Bitsevsky Park and kept a tally of his victims on a chessboard. He is currently serving a life sentence. Peter Curtin, also known as the Vampire of Dusseldorf, was a German serial killer who murdered at least 9 people between 1913 and 1929. He targeted mostly women and children and was known for his brutal and sadistic crimes. He was executed by beheading in 1931. Wolfgang Schmidt, also known as the Beast of Belitz, was a German serial killer who murdered at least 6 people between 1992 and 1994. He targeted patients at the Belitz Sanatorium where he worked as a nurse. He is currently serving a life sentence. That's all of them. I hope they burn in hell. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Thank you.